p.m.
Awesome. So I will call this meeting to order. I'll begin by reading the accessibility and Title VI non-discrimination statements. The meeting is accessible to people with disabilities. Microphones or telephones will be used by all speakers. Large print materials are available upon advance request. And if you would like either of these accommodations, please contact Mary Waldron at 508-583-1833. In addition, the notice of non-discrimination rights and protections to beneficiaries with regard to the federal Title VI non-discrimination protections and the state non-discrimination protections is posted in the meeting room at OCPC and is available on Old Colony Planning Council website as well. Please contact Mary Waldron at 508-583-1833 for more information. Thank you all. Thank you for being here. So why don't we start with roll call, Mary, if you would?
You looking for me?
Just for roll call. Do you
Yeah, I know. Megan,
want me to do it?
I've got it. Yeah, actually, because I'm going to need to log back in, Megan.
What do you mean? You can't see the screen?
The computer in this no longer allows me to have a microphone, so why don't, if you could just go through that and then log in. Okay, right there. Go ahead. Megan, just do the.
Okay, so, sorry. Abington,
You know what?
Stephen Santusanio,
Present.
Avon, Frank Staffier, John Costa, Preston Huckabee, Christopher Ryan. For
Christopher
Duxbury,
Ryan from Duxbury.
You're on mute.
Present, sorry.
I know he's here, yeah. Peter Spagone, East Bridgewater,
Present.
John Haynes,
Present.
Rhonda Neiman,
Present.
for
None.
Hanover, sorry. For Hanson, Tony DeFrias,
Present.
Pembroke, Becky Coletta,
Present.
Plymouth, Lee Hartman, is Leon? Doesn't look like he's on yet. Okay, so, Whitman, Dan Salvucci,
Present.
Nat Large, Yolando, Spinola,
Present.
great. Am I missing anyone? No? Okay, great. And it looks like for OCPC staff, we have Megan Fournier, Charles Kilmer, Mary Waldron, Brenda Robeson, and Bill McNulty. And I'll
Okay,
spare
thank
you all
you.
with my noise now and mute myself.
Thank you. So we didn't have all of our regular meetings. So next on the agenda, if Megan, if we could just scroll back to the agenda. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda, which we're hoping that we can take up the October meeting minutes, the October financials, the November financials, the SEDS committee member appointments, and the environmental notices as one consent item. Do we have a motion to do so?
I'll make that motion, Stephen.
Thank you, Stephen. Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
I'm sorry, who was that?
Tony DeFries.
Oh, thank you, John. Okay, roll call. Mary, are you in a position to do roll call, or do you want, do you need us to do that? I think Mary, I'm sorry, we're having a little bit of technical difficulty tonight. It's not like us.
Becky, do you want me to do it, or do you want me just to put it up on the screen for you? Meaning,
Whatever's
what does
easier for you,
everyone-
Megan.
All right, so we'll go quick. Abington,
Accept.
Avon, Brockton, Duxbury,
That's Christopher Ryan.
Yes.
East Bridgewater,
Accept.
Hanover,
Accept.
Hanson,
Accept.
Pembroke,
Accept.
Plymouth. Oh, right, Lee isn't here yet. Whitman
I have to abstain. I was not at the meeting.
and at large.
Accept.
Thank you.
Just want to confirm, we have, as I understand it, we have a quorum without Lee Hartman on the line. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mary.
So,
All right, so that dispenses with our consent agenda. Now, we actually are gonna get right into the December financials with.
Before we do, Madam Chair, I didn't know, since I stepped up, I just wanted to, did you recognize the fact, a moment of silence for Charlie's
Oh.
dad?
I have not.
That's okay.
I put that on the side here.
That's okay.
So on January 19th, our colleague Charlie Kilmer lost his father, Leonard Kilmer. And so I would ask that we just take a moment of silence in honor of his dad. Charlie, we're really sorry for your loss, and I know that there were flowers and a donation sent on behalf of OCPC and the staff, but all of us have been thinking of you over the last couple of weeks as this has come to this. And we're sorry. We also
you.
would ask, Charlie, are you there?
Yep. Yeah, thank you.
We also would ask that people keep Rep. Allison Sullivan in your thoughts and prayers. Her mom is currently sick as well.
Thank you,
These are-
Madam Chair.
So with that sort of somber news, let's move into our December financials with Brenda Robinson.
Megan, can you just scroll down? Thank you. Go.
Wait, do you think we shouldn't do the audit report first? So.
Yes,
Russell can
sorry.
fix it?
Yep, I apologize. We'll take the item out of order, Madam Chair. We have Russell Knapp from Markham LLC to do.
Oh, is he on the line?
Yes, he's here.
Okay. All right, Russell Knapp from Markham. Our
Hi,
current
Hi, everybody. My
CPA
name is
firm.
Russell Knapp. Oh, I'm sorry. Can you
Thank
hear me?
you. Yes.
All right, great. My name is Russell Knapp. I'm with Markham. I'm the senior auditor on the Old Colonies audit for the past 3 or 4 years. I've been the lead on it. So here today, I wanted to present the June 30, 2022 financial statements. It's pretty short and sweet and to the point. Currently, the audit is not issued. I'm hoping to issue in the next few days. So I'll keep Mary and Brenda apprised of that as I get more information. It's currently just in the review, but sometimes that can be delayed if they have, a lot of audits in the queue. But I'll keep you updated on that. So the audit is broken up into 2 parts. The audit of the financial statements, which is your statement of financial position and your income statement. And then we also do an audit of federal awards. And each year we have to select major programs for testing. We test your agent cluster, that's your EOEA grants. The main reason we test that every year is due to the size of the program. And then this year we also tested the Ombudsman program, just to cycle in additional programs. We try and do that from time to time. You can go to the next slide. So the audit results, we issue an opinion on the financial statements. An unmodified opinion is we didn't identify anything. A qualified opinion is our opinion that there's a material difference. And that's the same as last year. It's because it's our opinion that the pension portion for Old Colony should be reported on their financial statements. So that's why we're carrying that qualified opinion year over year until hopefully we get some resolution from the city. I did note in the valuation that the OPEB or the pension liability did decrease from 3.3 million to 2.1 million. So that's definitely a positive, probably just due to market factors and changing in valuation principles in the prior year. So there were no deficiencies in internal control identified, and there was no material noncompliance noted in the financial statements. And then additionally, on the compliance audit, there was no program findings, no deficiencies in internal control were identified. So you can go to the next slide. So here is the summary of net position that you'll find in the MD&A portion of the financial statements. So I'll just go through a quick change analysis here for any larger line items that may have changed from the prior year. Current assets had an increase, which is primarily attributed to your increase in accounts receivable for the year, which is due to your EOEA grants. I'm sure you all have more information on it, but it sounds like they were having trouble meeting some of their funding requirements, and that's kind of put you guys in a position where that receivable has inflated over the past year, which hopefully is resolving soon. Total liabilities had a net increase, and that was primarily due to your increase in OPEB valuation. It didn't go up too much, and it's very common for that number to fluctuate. So that's what you see there, the 179,000 on non-current liabilities. Your deferred outflows and inflows line items, those fluctuate as well based on the OPEB valuation. And also we include some prepaid expenses and some deferred revenue in those line items in regarding to the timing of billings on grants and the related expenditures. So that's why you see some changes there. So overall, the total net position increased 375,000 from the prior year. So on your income statement, operating revenues increased 450,000, which is primarily isolated on your federal grant activity. And you also see the same change reflected in your expenses, which is consistent with the type of grants. Again, a $456,000 increase in operating expenses. So overall, an increase in net position, increase in grant funding. So all positives. And if you go to the next slide, I think. Yeah, so that's all I have at the moment. Definitely happy to take any questions. And if as we issue the actual financials and get it 100%, if there's any additional questions at that time, Mary or Brenda, they can always reach out to me with any questions or concerns that anybody has.
And Madam Chair, as you know, from yesterday's finance meeting, the finance committee reviewed it and voted it a favorable report to the full council.
Yes, so now the question is whether there's anyone on the council who has any questions about the audit report. Mary, do you want the full council to accept the report of the auditors?
Yes, please. And that will be, as Russell has indicated, there's a couple other reviews, and if there are any changes, he will send an email to us. So it would be a favorable report contingent upon any other changes that are not of concern or of note. If they are of concern and note, it will come back to the full council for their review.
Right, so we want a motion to accept the audit report subject to any changes. If any changes are material, we'll come back to the full council.
I'll make
Do we
that
have
motion,
such a-
Dan from Whitman.
Thank you, Dan. Do we have a second?
I'll second, Stephen.
Thank you, Stephen. All right, roll call, please.
I'm going to let Megan do that.
Abington,
Accept.
Avon. Avon, right, they're having audio issues.
Stand
So
by.
I'll go back to them. Brockton, they're also there. Duxbury,
Accept.
East Bridgewater,
Accept.
Hanover,
Accept.
Hanson,
Accept.
Pembroke.
Except,
Has Lee joined yet from Plymouth? No. And Whitman
Accept.
at large.
Accept.
Okay.
all right, thank you. Okay, I think I just messed something up. Okay. All right, thank you all, and thank you very much to Markham as most of you know, we are in the process of interviewing for a new audit firm. Our particular area of need is not matching with what Markham is focusing on right now. So we have very much enjoyed the relationship with Markham. They've done a fantastic job. Brenda, I don't know if you want to say a word before we let Russell go on with his evening.
Just thank you very much, Russell. Russell and I are still talking a lot. We're still going back and forth with
Yeah.
things. I'm not finished with him yet.
No, no. And like I mentioned yesterday, I'll be available for to help as much as I can in assisting in that transition when it does happen. You won't have any trouble getting in touch with me. So
Thank you for your report, Russell. Well
No
done.
problem.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Can
Thank
you
you.
all can you all hear me?
Yes, now
Yes.
we can.
All
Yes.
right. So just before Russell, before you go, it has been a great experience working with you. I know that you were the auditor before we went to Markham LLC, but you and the firm have been attentive to our needs, questions, been available if we needed to meet, and just want to just say thank you and to best wishes as you are a newlywed, and we will be missing you. So thank you.
thank you. And likewise, it's been a pleasure working with all of you. And I look forward to seeing you in a week or two, Brenda.
Okay, thank you, Russell. See you soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
So now we'll look back to number 5 on our original agenda, December financials, led by Brenda Robinson.
Okay. First of all, at the end of December, we were in good financial condition with a 5.5% budget surplus.
Wow, nice.
Statement of expenditures report shows total expenses for the month of $266,585.73. Cash position report shows income for the month of $535,386.36. Disbursements for the month were $567,738.34. The total cash available at month's end was $1,223,049.62. OPEB account had a loss of $9,441.47, bringing the ending balance in the OPEB account to $910,879.80. The budget resources report. Total receipts for the month being $535,386.36 brings the total year-to-date receipts to $2,179,877.84. The AAA report. The outstanding balance for AAA pass-through programs was $879,311.12. Outstanding balance for AAA admin and ombudsman programs was $127,350.34. This brings the total outstanding balance in December for all AAA programs to $1,600,661.46. We have actually received a pretty good bit of money from them in January, so that number will change a lot. Voluntary transportation account, beginning balance was $176,195.32. Restricted fund payments to volunteers was $892.20. Donations received were $301.50, bringing the ending balance in the fund to $175,604.62. I don't know why I muted. That was weird. Receipts in December were $5,850, bringing the total in receipts in December to $35,100. Expenses in December of $10,244.62, bringing the total expenses in December to $41,267. The statement ending balance in December was $175,570.96. The budget spend down report. Page 1, total expenditures in December were $1,102,982. The spent to date percentage rate at the end of December was 44.5%. The ideal percentage in the 6th month of the fiscal year would be 50%. So at month's end, we had a 5.5% surplus. Page 2, budgeted income had no changes. Page 3, pass-through income had no changes. And then last is the list of combined accounts payable and cash transfers that were processed in December. And that's the end of the financial report.
Thank you, Brenda. I just make 2 notes when you were talking about OPEB and the loss there, which
Okay.
is not unusual for retirement or investment accounts right now.
Yeah.
I will say that I don't know if we have it. I don't see it on our agenda, but we did last night talk about the fact that the intent in the next month or so is to move forward with the planning on the OPEB trust and to get elections in place so that we can get that trust fully have the right people appointed to the trustee positions, so that then we also can, we've been talking about taking another look at who is managing our OPEB account right now. It is a group that's part of Rockland Trust or
Right.
affiliate with Rockland Trust.
Correct.
And the other group that seems interested in talking to us is the Plymouth County Treasurer's Office, who manages the OPEB money for Plymouth County and some other
Correct.
municipal organizations. So I just put that as a note for people to think of and remember. And second, I do thank you, Brenda, that the AAA pass-through is getting better and our aging on the accounts receivable is getting better, which was a note in our audit report and a note tonight. And just, you know, I want the council to know that everyone's tracking that. And Brenda's been, working with other people, and Mary have been working with other people to try to get that money in and pass through to the entities that should be receiving it.
Yes.
Any other questions on the financials from December?
You will need a vote on that, Madam Chair.
Yeah, I was just gonna get questions first.
Mhm.
Anybody? Okay, if we don't, then do we have a motion to accept the December financial report?
I'll make that motion, Dan from Whitman.
And
Thank you,
then
Dan.
I heard Frank Staff here, second that.
Thank you, Frank. So can we do a roll call on that?
Abington,
Except, sorry,
Avon,
Accept. Yeah, accept.
Brockton,
Yep.
Duxbury,
Accept.
East Bridgewater,
Except.
Hanover,
Accept.
Hanson, so sorry,
Accept.
Pembroke.
Accept.
I'm assuming Lee still isn't on, so
That's correct.
Whitman
Except.
and at large.
Accept.
And Madam Chair, before we go into the next item, I just wanted to note again, Brenda will be starting off her, and she did it today, but she'll be starting off her report with the statement, Old Colony Planning Council finances are in good standing, before she even begins. And that sort of gives you the preview. You will hear from us before it hits before it gets put out there. But I think those are the kind of the things that we're going to look for, making sure that we have that input to the council. So thank you, Brenda. The next item, I think, is the longevity. If we can scroll down to that, Megan. And
So-
this, go
Are
ahead.
you gonna explain it, Mary?
I will, and then just have you, Madam Chair, since you're the chair of the treasurer as well, but the finance committee met last night and voted to present this to council. The longevity increases are a proposal that came from Frank and Stephen, having some conversations with myself and Charlie last year. They know our challenges of trying to keep staff, whether it's merit increases, but the fact that we have some very long-standing employees that we'd like to keep. So a proposal was put together yesterday, what provided 2 scenarios, but this scenario was voted upon where it is a one-time longevity pay that is given on the anniversary date of the employee. And if you can see if you can see the breakdown, it says how many employees per year it will affect and the amounts per year. I had recommended that we move forward with this, see how this is going to be implemented in its first year, and it will be evaluated on a yearly basis through the personnel, then personnel to the finance committee.
So just to be clear, the Stephen and Frank were working on the personnel committee and then brought this to the finance committee. It does appear that we have the funding to do this.
That is correct.
Stephen and Frank felt fairly strongly that we should be doing this to make sure that we can maintain staff. But what I don't see in the language here that I think we also need to be clear on, this is on the every 5th year anniversary date. So at
Correct.
5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So every 5 years, there would be a longevity payment to a staff member for their 5th, 10th, 15th, 20th, 25th, and
That's
30th
right.
anniversary dates.
That is right. And it's not on there. But that is the intent, correct?
And the 64,000 over the next 7 years is the full total based upon looking at people's salaries and who is going to hit one of those 5-year benchmarks over those next
Actually, 8 years, Becky.
8 years. Yeah, I was about to say, because that includes this year. So it's over 8 years. The intent was also that it would be, it would go back to July 1st of 2022, which is the 2023 fiscal year, so that nobody would sort of miss out on one of those 5-year bonuses just because we're passing this in January and their anniversary date was earlier this year. It would cover the 2023 fiscal year from July 1st.
From January 1st to June 30th, and then because we're having this be implemented on July 1st, 2023. So we will go back to those that are celebrating their incremental years, which means 2 employees between January and June 30th.
Wait a minute, are we going back? Our fiscal year starts July 1, right?
It does.
So if we're starting this now, won't it go back to last July 1
No.
for the
No,
2023
we're-
fiscal year?
We're going forward. We're not going back. We're starting as of January 1st of this year.
Okay, so if someone hit their 5-year mark in September, they're not getting a payment?
That is correct. That's what
Okay. Because I
mean,
thought it was covering all of fiscal year 2023.
No, it is beginning this calendar year. We were looking to have it be taken effect July 1st, but that leaves 2 employees out. I won't name their names, but one of them happens to be on here, but it is, this was the recommendation also of staff that, because at some point you're going to miss out on somebody, right? So
Right,
going
right.
forward, it just works out where moving forward. And as you can see, in 2025, there's 6 employees that will meet at some sort of benchmark.
Okay, so is there any discussion? Do people have thoughts before we take a motion on this? Or or I would entertain a motion to accept the recommendation to provide longevity payments at 5-year benchmarks to OCPC staff at a 3% of their then current salary, with this policy to be reviewed annually.
I'll make that motion, Stephen.
Thank you, Stephen. Do we have a second?
I think I heard Frank staff here.
Okay, we'll have Frank second. Stephen, do you want to add anything as a discussion of the motion before we vote?
No, I think I just want to say, like, this was like a lot of the brainchild of Frank. And it was a good idea. And, Frank and I got together over the summer and we just kind of bounced around some good ideas. And we had one idea, but Brenda came up with a better idea with the bonus part of it. So that kind of helps get us where we are right now. So appreciate everybody's input, and I think this will help. I mean, it's not the be all end all, but I think it'll help show people that, you're committed to them. So all the staff. So I think it was a good idea all around.
And I think the other thing that was tossed around was that if you did a pay increase, you start to meld together what is a pay increase on a merit basis, what is the longevity. We generally have merit-based pay increases. And this longevity benchmark payment would be across the board. So it would sort of keep it separate and identified as a specific benefit for people who stay with OCPC over a longer period of time.
That's correct.
I have a question, Dan from Whitman,
Mhm.
if I may. On this, is it a one-time payment? On their anniversary date? It's not implemented in their salary line
That
item.
is correct.
That
So
is correct.
At one
Right, because
time,
that would compound it and would,
correct.
if you're looking at, like it will say, you're looking at a 3% increase. If you add that into it, it would increase that increase.
That is
It
correct.
would compound.
This is,
What
this is-
happens if a person leaves before their anniversary date?
If they leave before the anniversary date, they don't get the benchmark longevity
correct.
payment.
Okay,
Put in a
And-
last
and-
day rule or something.
Right. They have to be there on their anniversary date is
Yeah,
the is
okay.
the intention.
And just for one last thing on that, Dan, is that staff is evaluated on twice a year. It is, and they have tasks and they have priorities that need to be accomplished within those 6 months. And at the end, just before we get into our budget cycle, will be our final, and then at that point, recommendations for any kind of salary merit will be at that time. Has nothing to do with longevity or anything like
Good.
that. It's solely on performance.
okay, thank you.
Is somebody in the room there trying to speak up?
Can you hear any of us, or is it
I
Now
can
we
hear you.
can.
Frank, it's your voice?
Frank, did you want to speak to this?
Yeah, Frank, the microphone is having trouble picking up Frank's voice for some reason.
Yeah, we can hear you well. We can't hear Frank really at all. Maybe try now?
Can you hear me now, Becky?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Over the next 8 years, it averages out to be $8,000 a year differential.
Yeah.
I think in 1 year, if you lose somebody that's been here for 12 years, it'll take you probably 15 or 20,000 to get them implemented with a person who quit. So the reason I thought this would be a good idea, if you've been there for 7 years, you don't want to give up your bonus coming. It'll keep people. I found in the town of Avon that when we did this and they have these upgrades, they stick around and they'll be here a long time. We don't want to lose any of our good people. So at this time, I would like to make a motion that I think this takes a committee action, and I would like to make that motion. And I know Stephen and I have worked hard. I've enjoyed working with Stephen. He put a lot of hard work into this, and I think it's a good thing for the council. I really do. But I'd like to make that motion that we upgrade them to the 3% on their 5th, 10th, 15th, and so forth.
Stephen, will you withdraw your motion and support Frank's motion as a second?
I will do that, yes, yeah.
Thank you, Stephen. All right, is there any other discussion? Then Mary or Megan to do a roll call?
Megan?
Sorry, yep. Abington,
Except,
Avon,
Except,
Brockton,
Except,
Duxbury,
Except,
East Bridgewater,
Except,
Hanover,
Except.
Hanson,
Except.
Pembroke,
Except,
Whitman,
except,
at large.
Accept.
Great.
Thank you.
And I think Kellen agreed with it too, just saying.
Very enthusiastically.
Okay, so on that note, Mary, do you want to talk about our staff in the
I
OCPC staff
just
report?
love talking about our staff. The first and foremost, I would like to formally announce that beginning of this year, I have changed Charlie Kilmer's title from Assistant Director to Deputy Director. So please join me in congratulating Charlie on this title change. Well deserved, probably overdue on so many levels, but again, we make a great team, but there's no way that I could do what I do without Charlie. So thank you, Charlie,
Thank you.
Mr. Deputy Director. Thank you.
And Transportation Program Manager.
And Transportation Program Manager on top of everything else. You know, these have been all sent out to you. So for me to read it verbatim will be not fair to you to tie things up. But again, annual reports to your towns, when they get sent out, you get CC'd on them. So Megan's really worked hard on coming up with a great system internally. When I first came here in 2019, Pat Jamila says, yo, you got to do these annual reports and here's a cut and paste. And again, we met what we were able to do, but with all the things that OCPC is doing, it's an opportunity for us to really shine and tell your communities what we're doing. We hired a junior planner. His name is Jay Song, who's been working with Lori and Andrew Duvall. He's a recent Bridgewater State University GIS, and we'll want to welcome him. We also had a mid-year intern. She found us, and she is interested in urban planning, and she's now off and doing some other things, but she had enough of the right things that, you know, potentially we can bring her back for a summer intern. And then we just hired 2 communications interns. Some of you know that we had Maddie Curtis, who was doing about 20 hours a week for us, and Maddie got married, and then poor Megan was left with doing a lot of different things. And so having 2 interns come on, they're both putting in about 10 hours and already making an important. And the other thing we recently did is a STEAM coalition meeting with state folks and looking at our region from Plymouth to Brockton and in between for life sciences or life science and biosciences. So we've only had 2 meetings and things seem to be going well. And then we'll be addressing, we officially in Right Technology, we are renting space to them and in the back office and generating some income for OCPC ROM. And then later in the agenda, we'll talk about some reporting out from the subcommittee, from the personnel subcommittee and the bylaw committee. But Megan, just quickly scroll down in terms of area agency on aging and all the work, you know, when Becky talked earlier about the funds coming in and you know, she recognized Brenda and myself, but David Klein and Sean Noel and others have really been working hard and being in touch and being connected with the state and making sure they know what the impact is on our sub-grantees and you know, all of the different kind of the drivers and 12 months and you know, where they're taking the seniors from our region, community planning. I know there's a whole lot of things. We have actually Gabrielle, who was on paid medical family leave, is back, and she's hitting the ground running in terms of the assisted living program. But again, the community planning, many of you saw at our summit, we split the economic development into its own department, and then we have community planning. So Joanne and Lori are working on a whole number of things. If any of you can see, right, keep scrolling on there. The Narragansett Bay Estuary Program is underway. Lots of great things that are happening in pretty much all of the communities. And we'll touch base. I know everybody knows about the impact about MBTA communities. And if you haven't talked to Dottie Fuginetti and walking you through so you can all be compliant, I know she has. I know she's talked to every community and has really made a big impact in coaching and guiding through. But then there's a water study. It's under economic development because it's an EDA grant, but it's also, again, because of all of your work and support, we've been able to work with our senators and legislators. So in the economic development bill, I know a number of you received earmarks in that to either help with your economic development or promotion. but there was a funding in the economic development bill, I believe it was for 200,000 that Senator Brady had put in to talk about the regional feasibility water study. And that will help all communities in the region. If you need more information, we can talk to you separately up about that.
Mary?
Yep.
That is one that I think affects a lot of towns.
does.
Who is going to manage that money? Is it going to be OCPC or is it
It
going to be
will
the
be.
Central Plymouth County Water District?
No, it is going to be the Old Colony Planning Council. So we received the earmark. We are also applying for the economic development study. So we needed the earmark to serve as a cash match for going after federal funds. But it will be, we're leading it. But again, with the Central Plymouth County Water District and the South Shore Chambers and some of the other partners, it's what we'll do is we'll send out a memo just to all of you, so you know what is entailed with that. It's pretty comprehensive, and it's been certainly Central Water District has taken initiative. Joanne Zigman, who's on our staff, served on that board. She moved out to Easton, no longer can serve. But obviously she is an expert in the water area. And if anybody's talking about economic development, you know, you need water in order to sustain any kind of development, as well as the quality of life. So on that issue, Becky, I will make sure that we get some additional information if you have not seen that. We can just kind of keep skipping through some of these other items that you can read through. I please encourage you to really do that. We can stop here for 1 second on the One Stop for Growth, because you all have received, I know I'm looking at Chris and a few others. Dottie again has reached out to you to find out what you're working on, bringing that information back so then we can see what other resources, federal, state, that we can parlay that into support you, whether it's through the district local technical assistance program and or other avenues. So, and Don Sullivan has probably more ideas coming from his head about how he can help this region out. He's been here for 2 months, and I think he's already going to be bringing in a whole lot of money, which also means administrative funds that come to Old Colony Planning Council for us to sustain our staff. So much more. Again, I always say I never do this justice to when we're going through the report. And of course, transportation. A lot of you who joined the Joint Transportation Committee or also the MPO meetings, you hear about all these things, and there's an action item later on the agenda that we need to talk about, but lots of good discussions with our partners across the state, within our region, across our communities, road safety audits, as well as, you know, being a resource to local reporters who want to talk about the high crash and different kind of corridor studies. So we've been spending a lot of quality time in East Bridgewater, but it's also, again, an issue that East Bridgewater has had for a number of years, and we're hoping that we'll see some solution to that. We're going to keep going on in terms of all the rest of the stuff. Kyle, if we can still scroll down, Megan. Thank you. And I mean, again, the cartographs and all the different things, the drone is used. We have an OCPC drone for those who don't know, and we have 3 pilots. They've been doing some great work in providing a lot of different views and graphics, but also literally a bird's eye view of an area that needs to be dealt with. But, you know, measures of effectiveness, that's Sean Bailey from the team. The long range transportation plan. We have a big meeting on Friday with Mass DOT and the other regional planning agencies in terms of funding. Again, I look at Charlie and the work that he does. He's reliable, he's consistent. He is the E.F. Hutton, for those who know who he is, but he's the E.F. Hutton of transportation across this Commonwealth. And with that comes, I know that we have some additional funding that could be coming to the region to help support projects that are along the way. You know, the regional travel demand model that Guotong and Charlie and others are working on to bring all of these things that are helpful to not just the region, but some of you have some individual items and issues of your community. So I didn't do that anywhere in justice, but certainly if you have any questions, Charlie and Bill McNulty, who is on today. Where's Bill? There he is. Bill McNulty has been Charlie's because Charlie has had so much on his plate. Charlie is charging Bill with the tip and bringing him on and coaching him to be another Charlie. So we're able to give Charlie some time off that's needed. The geographic information systems, that's Andrew Vidal. But I think since all this different kind of funding's been coming between the water district and EDA funding, Andrew has really been, I look at the MBTA communities, everybody needs maps and the mass trails. He really has stepped up his game immensely. And hence that's why we have Jay Song, who's coming in to assist him with all the different maps that are needed for all the different reports. And then for those who don't know, we have a septic management program. Sean Bailey is the manager of that. And you can see the different kind of funds that have been issued and the different programs. So that's it in a nutshell. And I didn't do it any justice, but a lot of different things. And it's really kind of hard to pinpoint all the work that the staff is doing, but it is because of your support of what we do. Everybody has a cell phone that they use. They have a laptop that they take home. The hybrid model truly works in having productivity, and that's the staff report. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mary. There is so much packed in there, and I know you don't want to take too much of the delegates' time, but I do think it's worth looking at that because you may get ideas for your own town that you're representing to bring back to your town managers, to your town councils, to your planners about how do we get involved in this piece of what Old Colony Planning Council is doing. And then you can loop back with Mary or Charlie or
Anyone.
Bill McNulty or anyone to sort of pull that back together, pull that back to your town. So part of what we're doing here as delegates is to make sure that Old Colony Planning Council can get its work done by having delegates who are willing to review financial statements and do some of this, the work of delegates, but it's also to be a voice and eyes and ears for our towns in this role as delegates. So I really encourage people to take a look at the staff report and the Joint Transportation Committee reports and some of the other information that comes our way as delegates, and make sure that we try to route it to other people within our towns, because Old Colony Planning Council is most vibrant when that information is getting shared back and forth. Mary and the staff at OCPC have been doing a stellar job of creating presentations that are accessible and usable. And I really think it's important that we get that back to our towns and that there's a dialogue and a flow back and forth that I know Mary's been working very hard to implement.
Well, Becky, I think you hit it right on the head in terms of there's so much in here that, we've had some individual meetings, whether it's Duxbury or East Bridgewater and some of the other communities. We are getting to each of the communities so we can focus. So Whitman's going to be having a new town administrator, bringing them up to speed. And how do we get to them and triage that pretty quick? Chris, you came to our office. And I think from that point, what I say to everybody, you don't need to go to me to talk to the staff. All the staff know that they're all available. Their emails, their cell phones are all available. Their only charge is that if they're contacted, they need to get back to you as soon as they have the information. And so that's that. I think, and I can just go right into the retirement legislation. So last Friday was the filing deadline for legislation, and MARPA, the Mass Association of Regional Planning Agencies, filed the legislation again to that would support Old Colony Planning Council and the other regional planning agencies to be considered a government entity, very much like the state. Because for those who may not, it's going to take way too much time, but I will do a little bit of a synopsis of the State Retirement Board has been sending us a bill for to every year that they charge us because they're saying that we're not participating, but we're saying we are part of doing the government's work. So anyway, legislation's been filed again, and we think that there's a great chance that would be in our favor. And as mentioned in the audit report, it is seen as a note, it is seen as a liability. And the hope is that we can get that resolved this year. So That's the state retirement legislation. It's been refiled, and we may need to go testify again, and I'll keep all of you apprised of that.
Mary, little one step further on that, do we have a little blurb that we could send to the delegates and ask every delegate if they're willing to reach out to our state reps and our state senators and ask if they would come on board as co-sponsors of that bill or supporters of that bill? Because I know that right now there's strength in numbers in terms of getting co-sponsors onto the legislation.
That is correct. So
Rhonda may want to pipe, Rhonda Nyman from Hanover may want to pipe in from the state legislator perspective there.
You're 100% correct, Madam Chair, that the more sponsors and co-sponsors you can have on any piece of legislation is particularly important. So yeah, definitely. And I'd be willing to reach out to our delegation as well and ask them to sign on and support this piece of important legislation. So, yep, thank you.
So just on that note, we do have a newly created subcommittee. It was created last year. It's a legislative committee. We did not activate it last year, but it's going to be activated. As soon as I get a chance to talk to Val, we will let you all know, because there's a series of legislation filed, such as hybrid meetings to continue, because the deadline is going to be looming, and the hope is that we're able to continue to have such great input by way of a Zoom, as opposed to you all coming to one central location, which happened to be OCPC. So I will put the listing of what we've been notified that's been filed, and then perhaps within pretty quick time to get those to sign on. But in the meantime, Becky, to your point, I can send out a summary of all the things, and then with those legislators that have signed on and those that have not, and then we can certainly ask you to be active in pursuing that with your legislators.
Yeah, I know that for some of our local legislators, they're talking about right now how they're being asked to, like, this is the hot and heavy period since they just got off the legislation file. So the sooner the better on us reaching out, I think.
Great. I'll get something out to you.
All right, great. So we don't need to take action on the staff report.
No, you do not.
Okay. So we've already done our audit, number 9. So we're up to number 10 on the transportation improvement plan. Is Charlie or Bill gonna lead that conversation?
Charlie will.
Yeah, I'll take this one. Thank you, Becky. So if Megan, you could scroll down, next slide, next slide, next slide, and this one, please. Thank you. So the Old Colony MPO is in the process of amending their 2023 through 2027 transportation improvement program. And on your screen, you see 4 projects that are being added to the TIP document. These 4 projects are actually project awards through the MassDOT Community Transit Grant Program. And the first one is the Bridgewater Council on Aging Elder Affairs Department, and it's to add a project for the funding for staff salaries, outreach, promotional materials, and a paratransit scheduling software to help enhance the productivity and capacity of their weekly shuttles and on-demand trips. And total project cost for this project is $27,600. I note that these 4 projects being added to the TIP don't bump any other project out. These are fully funded projects with federal funds and local matches, which are from the actual project proponents. Project number 2 is for Brockton Area Transit. This is to expand their service within the town of Rockland. It's a micro transit flex service. It's an on-demand service, and total project cost here is $275,000. Project number 3 is for the Old Colony Planning Council Area Agency on Aging Volunteer Transportation Program. And what this entails is providing a mileage differential to match up to the current IRS mileage reimbursement rate, which is currently 65.5 cents per mile. And total project cost for this one is $60,000. And last but not least is the South Shore Community Action Council, and it's to add a project for operational assistance to support their on-demand paratransit program, and that is a total of $250,000. So to recap, 4 projects are being added. Amendment is out for a public review and comment period, and staff has reviewed this and would request a favorable review and approval from the OCPC board.
Charlie, do you want us to take just this piece right now, or is there more coming? Is this the only piece we have to approve?
Yes, this is the only piece. It's an amendment to the actual document. The document itself is updated once a year for adding in the another year, but throughout the year, there are times it can be either adjusted or amended, and there are only 4 items within this one amendment, so.
Okay. Any questions on those items, or do we have a motion to recommend acceptance of the amendment 1 to the tip for fiscal year 2023 to 2027?
And now, is that motion for all 4 items or just one at a time?
I think
All
we're
4
going
in
to
a
take the
bunch.
amendment. Yeah,
All 4, okay, I'll motion to accept. I'll make
do
that
we have a
motion.
second?
Second, Rhonda from Hanover.
Yeah,
Thank you,
Dan from
Rhonda.
Whitman is fine, yeah.
Roll call?
Megan, we'll get that in 1 second. You know what? I'll do it.
1 second, sorry, I just got funky. All right, Abington,
Accept.
Avon, Brockton, Duxbury,
Accept.
East Bridgewater,
Accept.
Hanover,
Accept.
Hanson,
Accept.
sorry, Pembroke,
Accept.
Whitman,
Accept.
at large.
Accept.
All right, thanks for dealing with that, guys.
Thank you. I don't know if Mary or Brenda wants to give an update on the auditor proposals as we're
Brenda-
choosing a new
Brenda will
audit
give a-
firm.
yep, Brenda will give a brief.
Okay, we've done one interview already. We have our last interview on Thursday at 6 o'clock. And as soon as we do that interview, we will make a decision
you go.
on, I'm sorry. As soon as we are through with that interview, we'll make a decision to choose the auditor. I would like everyone's decisions to be in by Monday or Tuesday. We'll figure out how to meet together to make that decision. And then I would like to have notified the auditor before the end of next week, if that's possible. And that's about it for that report.
So just to be, for the delegates, in case you didn't catch that, Brenda is saying that we may need to do a quick interim meeting, a quick Zoom meeting at some point next week to look at the audit proposals and have the delegates sign off on the recommendation that we'll have from the audit selection committee. So I don't know, are we going to reach out and find out some available dates, or are we just going to?
We could, it's twofold, that if we don't get a quorum, the executive committee can serve there. It's in our bylaws that allows the executive committee to serve, but information will be sent out as soon as possible. It will, if we meet, we have to put a notice out to the clerk, so that requires 48 hours notice. So there's a lot of moving parts. So as soon as we know tomorrow, it actually wouldn't give us, we couldn't meet on Monday, the earliest we could meet. And of course, with many of the town clerks not open on Friday, it really pushes us to like a Wednesday, Thursday, just saying the time frame.
I
So
think it would be a very short meeting. I don't think it's going to take long at all, no longer than a
Right.
half hour.
But the challenge is that many of those and on the committee are select board and they have their own conflicts. So we will, anything, it will be on a Wednesday, Thursday, and I think we're losing a few folks. So I don't want to lose a quorum while we're here, but we'll get back to, we'll get to people as soon as possible and put out a doodle poll.
Okay, thank you. Next up on the agenda, we have an update from the Personnel and Bylaw Committee.
Right, I'll be really quick. This was in the updated packet that Megan helped me prepare. There's the bylaw meetings. So there is a discussion about creating a diversity, equity, and inclusion subcommittee. It was voted favorable to go to the full council for a vote. Today, we will be asking for volunteers, but you don't have to commit. But this is an action item that the board to support the creation of a diversity, equity, and inclusion subcommittee.
Okay, do we have anyone who would like to accept that recommendation and move that we create a diversity, equity, and inclusion subcommittee?
So moved.
I'll
Thank you,
second.
Chris.
Stephen,
Thank
I'll
you,
second.
Stephen. Do we have any discussion of this? Or can we just move to a roll call vote?
So Megan, I think if you've got Kellen there, I can just go through it quickly. Abington,
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, go for it.
yep, Abington,
Accept.
Avon,
Accept.
thank you, Brockton,
Accept.
Duxbury,
Accept.
East Bridgewater,
Accept.
Hanover,
Accept.
Hanson,
Accept.
Pembroke,
Accept.
and Whitman.
Accept.
Thank you.
At large, did we?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
Yolanda, I'm sorry. It's
Accept.
not on my- Thank you. It's not on my alphabet list here. So, thank you. And then just, one of the other things that came out of the bylaw committee, really taking a deeper dive in terms of our enabling legislation. And for me, I'm looking at our existing bylaw, how an at-large delegate is the process. So we are really lucky to have Yolanda, who came and was able to support and was interested, but we've got to tighten up that. So the second part, the review and enabling legislation, will be an ongoing for the rest of this year. And then when the bylaw committee meets next year, we will have some further recommendations. So that's the bylaw committee summary. And then next, the personnel committee. I know Stephen's on here today and he's the chair. So again, the amendments to the handbook book that were presented, some language in terms of dress code and that avoids gender specific requirements. We still need to kind of, Lisa had suggested, Lisa, our consultant, HR consultant, suggested a dress for your day. So we're still tweaking those. We obviously addressed the longevity pay in there, but we were running into lots of different things between the audit and the audit interviews and staff being out. So we're going to take up these items at another personnel committee meeting. We haven't scheduled that yet, so we can then take these and bring full updates to the full council through you, Stephen.
Thank you.
And that's all that there is.
We try to run through these meetings in an hour. I will say that sometimes we are able to have presentations that sometimes go beyond the hour. I would think maybe the regional water study is one of those presentations that might be good to bring to the full council as a sort of at the end of a meeting type presentation. And if people have ideas for other things that they want to have presented to the council at council meetings, just reach out to Mary or Charlie and or to our chair, Val Massard, or our president, Val Massard, and let them know that there are certain topics that affect the region or that affect the council that you would be interested in having a longer presentation. I know in the past we've talked about dam removal, we've talked about the South Coast Rail project, just to name a couple. So if there are topics that you want brought up and sort of described in more detail to the delegates, just let us know and we can see about putting that on a future agenda with the appropriate staffing.
Right.
Anything else, Mary?
No, other than you all get invited, all the delegates and alternates are invited to our Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy Committee meeting. Some great conversation happens there about economic development and housing and things of that nature. And obviously with the MPO and JTC about everything, you know, there's some great speakers that happen at that level. So it's not, if it's not done at this meeting, but there's a whole host. And I think John Costa's right there writing all the ideas that he's had. He's brought up quite a few that has come to us in the past, whether it's water, economic development, sustainability, cybersecurity, There's a whole host of things that are all affecting the communities, and we are thinking about it in a regional way. And if we can serve as a convener, we'll continue to do that. So thank you.
Okay, with that said, if nobody has anything else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
I'll
Thank you,
second
Stephen.
Whitman.
Thank you, Dan. I don't think we need a roll call on a motion to adjourn, so
No.
hands up if anybody objects, scream now. Otherwise, see you guys next month.
Good night, everybody. Have a
Thank
nice
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.